Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and let's aim for 10,000 likes on this video. It might seem hard, but I trust you can make it happen. Now, let's begin. The story begins with a handsome young man, so striking you'd think he's from a noble family, polite and classy. But don't mistake him for being soft. If needed, he can turn into a ruthless beast. We learn his name is John, a police officer on a secret mission. We see him spying on a dangerous gang while secretly filming them smuggling a rare, ancient statue. He sends the footage to his boss for verification. His superior is shocked when he sees it, because that statue is a national treasure. He warns John to be extremely careful while retrieving it. But John, with a confident smirk, replies, "Come on, boss. I may be charming, but when it comes to action, I'm deadly." John decides to raid the gang alone. He gives them a chance to surrender peacefully, but they mock him. "You don't see how many of us there are?" Poor fools. They don't know that John alone is worth an army. One thug rushes at him, tries to punch, but John dodges and knocks him out in less than a second. Now the gang is furious and all charge at him. They still don't know he's a monster in disguise. He starts fighting them off effortlessly, dodging every strike. He grabs them, punches, kicks, knees, breaking bones left and right. No one dares to even look him in the eye. Their boss panics and tries to escape with the statue. Suddenly, another gang member grabs the boss and steals the statue from him. Turns out it's John's partner in disguise. But before he can escape, the gang boss sneaks up behind him, knocks him out, grabs the statue back, and runs. John is shocked but quickly gives chase. He pulls out his gun and fires a warning shot into the air to stop him, but the gang boss yells back, afraid the bullet might hit the statue. John reassures him, "I know exactly what I'm doing, don't tell me what to do." Suddenly, another gang member ambushes John, giving the boss a chance to jump in a car and escape. He thinks he's safe, but not from John. John hops on his motorcycle, chasing him down at top speed. A wild, high-speed chase begins. His boss calls in, begging him to fall back, worried about the statue, but John refuses to quit. He risks his life. Driving like a man possessed, he leaps from the bike onto the car's rooftop. The gang leader swerves left and right to shake him off, but John clings like glue. He removes his helmet and smashes through the car's roof. The boss is stunned. John is no ordinary cop. The gang boss opens the door and tries to escape, but John reaches for the statue, managing to grab it just in time before it hits the ground. Unfortunately, the car crashes and explodes. John's partner arrives at the scene, horrified, thinking John has died. But then, John walks out from the flames, dragging the gang leader with one hand, the statue in the other. The team celebrates. Mission accomplished. But when the captain inspects the statue, he notices the statue's hand is broken and there's a bullet lodged inside. John is furious. Who's the idiot that fired the shot? Then it hits him. He was the one who shot it. When he fired into the air earlier, the bullet must have hit the roof and ricocheted into the statue. Terrified, John pleads with his boss, "I'm sorry. Treat me like a potato under your feet." The next day, the minister finds out, and he's furious. He yells at John's captain, threatening to fire him and the entire team if he doesn't get rid of John. But the captain defends John, saying he's a brave and clever officer, just a little dumb. The minister agrees to give John one last chance, on one condition. He hands over a new mission file. That night, the captain gathers the team. They're down and discouraged, but he informs them that the minister gave them a second chance with a new mission. They get curious. He tells them the mission takes place in the most famous high school in Korea. According to legend, 100 years ago, the emperor gave a massive amount of gold to the school principal to support the resistance against Japanese occupation. But the greedy principal hid the gold in the school, assuming the resistance would lose. However, Japan lost, and the emperor ordered the principal's arrest. He fled with part of the gold abroad and left the rest hidden somewhere in the school. Ever since, no one has been able to find it. But recently, intel suggests the school owner is planning to smuggle the gold out of the country. So now it's up to John to infiltrate the school as a student and locate the hidden treasure. John is stunned. He thinks the captain is joking, but he's not. The gold is worth over $800 million, and time is running out. The captain assures him, "No one will suspect you. You look young and charming." John reluctantly agrees. He has no choice, not after nearly getting fired over the statue. Meanwhile, we meet a beautiful young woman named Sion, a newly hired teacher. She's out with colleagues celebrating the principal's birthday at a nightclub. Eager to make a good impression, she sings and dances to keep the principal happy. He enjoys the performance and offers her a drink. Her co-worker gets worried since Sion isn't used to alcohol and it might ruin the evening, but she reassures him. It's just lemonade. Come on, we were being good last month. Time to catch up. Cheers! Despite her confidence, as soon as she drinks, she starts hallucinating. Things get blurry. On the way out, she grabs the principal's hair to steady herself, only to accidentally pull off his wig. Everyone laughs. Embarrassed, Sion runs off and takes a taxi home, mortified. She heads to her mother's restaurant where she sees a man sitting alone, John. She's struck by how handsome he is and keeps stealing glances. Suddenly, a group of rowdy students start harassing her mother and refuse to pay. Sion stands up to them, tells them she's a teacher, and asks what year they're in. They laugh, thinking she's still drunk. One tries to grab her. John steps in. He calmly asks them to apologize, but they refuse and try to start a fight. Big mistake. They don't know John is a veteran street fighter. He blocks every strike and starts beating them with his fists, his legs, anything within reach. He forces them to apologize to Sion's mother and to pay the bill. Sion is amazed by his strength. Her mother thanks him and offers to waive his bill, but he insists on paying. He's nothing like those punks. John nods goodbye and walks away. But fate has just begun to bring their paths together. Our heroine keeps staring at him, and it seems like she's already falling for him. After that, John returns home and starts remembering his past school memories, especially the times he used to get bullied by students who mocked him for being an orphan. He gets angry and decides to accept the mission as a chance to get revenge. He calls his superior and informs him of his decision, and the boss tells him the team has approved it. The next day, he attends a team meeting where the captain explains everything about the mission. He tells them this school is attended by the richest kids in the country and that the students are divided into social tiers. The highest of those tiers is the student council. They practically run the place. They advise John to avoid interacting with them to prevent any problems. John promises to stay away. The captain gives him a new identity under the name of a kid from a countryside village, so no one suspects who he really is. He also asks him to memorize some teenage slang to sound cool and fit in. John knows this mission won't be easy, but he has no other choice. He accepts, saying, "Whatever it takes, I'll get it done." Later that night, the captain visits John at home. We learn that he's the one who raised John after his parents died. He tells his daughter Shy about the mission and informs her that John will be joining her school starting tomorrow. He warns her that if she sees him, she should act like she doesn't know him. Sure smiles and promises to do just that. The next morning, John wakes up early, ready to begin the mission. He puts on his school uniform and heads to the school. The world outside is peaceful. As soon as he arrives, everyone stares in awe. Whoa, who is this guy? Is he a celebrity or what? They're blown away by his good looks and think he must be the hottest transfer student in history. The school is massive and filled with wealthy kids, but despite its grandeur, many students act arrogant. Some of them tell him to move aside for their leader, Lena. John steps out of the way and then heads to the teacher's room to ask about his class. There, he finds Sion hiding from her supervisor, clearly nervous about what happened the night before. When she sees John, she gets even more scared, not realizing he's now a student at the school. But when she sees him again later, she's shocked. She introduces herself to him and tells him that he'll be in her class. As she gets a clearer look at his face, she realizes he's the same guy she saw at her mother's restaurant. John panics, thinking she's figured out his identity, but luckily, she's clueless. She thinks he used a fake ID to buy alcohol. She pulls him by the ear and scolds him, warning him not to pull any stunts again or she'll hit him. John is thrilled. She's totally fooled. He promises not to repeat the behavior and goes to his class. Meanwhile, we see a group of girls gathering around a student named Leon, all trying to get close to her. In another corner, a group of bullies are mocking a chubby student, calling him a panda. Suddenly, Sion enters the classroom and announces that a new student has joined and will be studying with them. John walks in. All the girls are stunned by his looks and beg him to sit beside them, but he ignores them and chooses to sit in the back next to the chubby student instead. This makes Shy nervous when she sees him again. She texts him, asking to meet after class. John meets her in the hallway. She tells him she thought he was going to be a teacher, not a student. She offers to help him with his mission, but only if he promises not to tell her father about what she does at school. John is happy with this and agrees. He returns to class but ends up falling asleep during the lecture. Cyan notices and tries to wake him up, but the moment he opens his eyes, he almost punches her. He was ready for combat. She's shocked by his reaction, so she slaps him to get him to focus. After class, two girls approach John and ask him to follow them on Instagram, but he has no clue what that is. "Insta? What's that?" he says, then adds, "Thanks, but I'm not even hungry." They laugh, thinking he's joking. During break, he calls his teammate and asks her to help him with this Insta and all that nonsense. She laughs and says, "What are you talking about?" John replies, "These trendy apps. I'm just a farm boy from Korea." Meanwhile, students run through the hallways and one accidentally spills juice on John's clothes. John gets irritated and wants to cry. He mutters to himself, wishing he could just finish this mission and get out of here. He goes for a walk around the school and finds an old abandoned building with a sign that says, "Do not enter." He instantly suspects that the gold might be hidden there. He tries to get inside, but the door is locked. Obviously, it says, "Do not enter." Suddenly he hears voices. He sees the bullies mocking a weak student again. He feels sorry for the kid, reminded of his own childhood, but he tries to walk away so the mission doesn't get ruined. As he turns, he bumps into some tools making noise. The bullies hear it and catch him. He pretends he was just looking for the bathroom, but they don't believe him. They start bullying him too. John stares at them with rage, tempted to break their bones. But then he remembers what his captain told him. If he messes up the mission, he'll be fired. So he forces himself to act like a weak, scared student. He lets them push him and bully him. The chubby student watching this is heartbroken. He thought John would protect him. He feels disappointed and hopeless. Meanwhile, Cyan is in the teacher's room, telling the other teachers about what John did at her mother's restaurant. She thinks he's a troublemaker and decides to keep a close eye on him. She's also sad because she developed a crush on one of her students, not knowing he's actually a cop on a secret mission. She returns to class to give a lecture. She tells the students to study hard because exams are coming up. Before she leaves, she gives John a dirty look like, "Ugh, you annoying brat." John is confused but doesn't let it bother him. He starts chatting with the chubby student, encouraging him to stand up for himself. He also asks him about the old building. The student explains that it's the oldest building in the school and that no one goes near it. Rumors say there are corpses buried inside. John is stunned. This confirms to him that the gold must be there. Meanwhile, the school principal attends the funeral of a journalist and comforts his wife, promising to look after her son at school. But once she leaves, we find out she's the one who had the journalist killed because he was trying to expose her. Turns out she's a dangerous and psychotic woman. Later that night, John calls his captain and tells him about the abandoned building. He says, "I'm pretty sure the gold is inside." The captain encourages him to check it out himself. John agrees. He disguises himself and jumps over the school fence at night. He successfully breaks into the school and heads for the abandoned building. He manages to break the lock and is just about to enter, when suddenly someone appears behind him and points a gun at him. To his surprise, it's Cyan. She's wearing an armband. She's on patrol duty tonight. She orders him to take off his mask so she can see his face, but John, thinking quickly, shines a flashlight into her eyes and pushes her away. He runs. She chases him at full speed for a long time, but luckily she bumps into the security guard. The distraction gives John just enough time to escape. He calls his captain and tells him everything. They both realize John won't be able to enter the building so easily again. Later, Cyan calls her mom and reassures her that everything is fine and she's doing okay. She returns to her dorm and wishes she could find that criminal again and arrest him herself. By coincidence, John is actually living in the apartment right across from hers, but neither of them realizes it yet. The next day, the principal finds out what happened and tells her assistant to install surveillance cameras around the school, convinced the intruder will return. At the same time, the vice principal scolds Cyan for letting the suspect escape. She tries to defend herself, but he won't listen. As punishment, he makes her work all day. She has no choice but to obey. During lunch break, she sits with her colleagues and feels relieved that the principal seems to have forgotten about the incident at the birthday party. Suddenly, he sneaks up behind her and scares her. She panics and throws hot soup on his face by accident. The entire room stares in shock. Meanwhile, John steps out of class and sees the principal's assistant entering the abandoned building. He becomes suspicious and tries to follow, but the security guard stops him and warns him not to go near that building again. John pretends he didn't know, claiming he's new and unfamiliar with the rules, so the guard lets him go. As he's walking away, he hears a sound coming from a trash bin. He opens it, and to his shock, finds the chubby student tied up and locked inside. The bullies were the ones who did it. John helps him out and cleans him up. He feels sorry for the poor kid, kind and innocent. He asks him why he doesn't defend himself. The student tells him he's an orphan and lives with his grandmother. There's no one around to protect or complain for him. John sees himself in the boy and feels deeply for him. Cyan sees the boy all battered and questions John about what happened. The student lies and says he just fell, too scared to speak the truth. Cyan feels bad but doesn't push for answers. Of course, we all know our clueless heroine with a genius mind is starting to get suspicious of John. She thinks he might be the one who bullied the chubby student, so she drags him to the library to interrogate him and asks if he's the bully. But eventually, she realizes he was actually helping the boy. Then she notices that John looks a lot like the masked criminal she saw last night. She moves her hand toward his face to check more closely, but John panics and pulls away quickly. Because of that sudden move, she loses balance and falls to the floor like a clown. She gets angry and almost hits him. She tells him, "From now on, you're under observation," and warns him not to cause trouble. John just humors her and walks away. At the same time, John's team sees a news report. They learn that the school principal is about to launch a massive project worth $800 million, the exact value of the missing gold. That confirms it. She's planning to sell it, which means John needs to find the treasure and finish the mission as soon as possible. Next, we see the student council holding a meeting. The school bully arrives late as usual. Shai scolds him for what he did to the chubby student and tells him to stop bullying him. It's wrong. But he mocks her in return, saying she's only there because Lena allowed her to join the group. Otherwise, she'd still be an outcast. She is hurt by his words, but Lena steps in and demands he apologize to the student, or else she'll kick him out because she's richer than him. The bully is intimidated and reluctantly complies. She is happy, and later thanks Lena for standing up for her. Meanwhile, John has lunch with the chubby student. He tries to cheer him up and even gives him his own meal. The boy is touched and thanks him, then decides to tell him about the abandoned building and the terrifying rumors surrounding it. He explains that a long time ago there was a talented girl who dreamed of becoming a ballerina, but the other girls were jealous of her, so they bullied her every day. They even put nails in her ballet shoes to hurt her and stop her from dancing. One day they chased her down the hallway and she got into an accident. Sadly, she lost the use of her legs. Her dreams were shattered. Eventually, she fell into despair and decided to take her own life. The bullies, afraid of being exposed, buried her body under the building so no one would find out what they had done. But later, a security guard saw her ghost, and she attacked him. Since then, the place became haunted, and no one dares to enter it. John is shaken by the story. He's terrified of ghosts. Suddenly, the bully shows up and starts picking on the chubby student again. He ruins his lunch and orders him to eat it anyway. The student is so scared he's about to obey, but John steps in. He throws the food to the ground to stop him. The bully gets furious and tries to fight him, but this time, John defends himself. He grabs his arm and nearly breaks it. He warns him, "Stay out of my way or you'll regret it," and punches him in the stomach. Everyone is shocked by John's strength. The bully tries to retaliate, but Cyan arrives and stops the fight. She orders them both to go to the disciplinary office. The principal arrives and lets the bully leave without punishment, but he decides to punish John instead. Cyan also scolds John, thinking he's the one who bullied the chubby student. John gets frustrated that schools are still the same. They always protect the wrong people. He tells her, "You're stupid. If you know the truth and still pretend otherwise, then don't act so righteous. Don't fall in my eyes." And he walks off. Cyan is upset by his words. She really didn't know what was going on, but his words hit her deeply. She goes to her mother's restaurant and starts drinking juice in frustration. John's words touched a nerve. She feels like she's not good enough to be a teacher. Her mother tries to comfort her while customers watch and giggle. She encourages her daughter and helps her regain confidence. At the same time John's team is celebrating, they think the mission is almost complete, but suddenly the minister barges in and shows them a video of John fighting the bully. He demands to see John and yells at him, calling him a failure. He accuses John of nearly blowing his cover and ruining the mission. He tells him he'll never be as good a cop as his father. John is hurt by the words and apologizes. After he leaves the office, his captain tries to cheer him up. He gives him a special tool that can open any lock. John thanks him and walks off. As he walks, he starts remembering his father. On his birthday, his dad gave him a watch as a gift, but shortly after, his father was called for a mission and had to leave. That moment turned out to be their last. John never saw him again. His father went missing. Snapping out of the memory, John heads back to the school. He needs to finish the mission. The chubby student sees him and secretly follows. He calls out to John, who's startled. John pretends he's just checking out the ghost rumor. The student insists on tagging along, and they both enter the abandoned building. They explore until they spot a figure whose face isn't visible. The figure notices them and throws a metal rod at them before running away. John dodges the attack and starts chasing him, but the man gets away. While exploring further, John finds a secret room. He uses the tool from his captain and successfully unlocks the door. Inside, he finds a map and some old documents. That's when he discovers that the school principal is also looking for the gold. Back in her office, the principal watches John through a hidden security camera. She sees him in the secret room and becomes suspicious. John then hears the student screaming. He rushes over and finds him standing before a skeleton. They're both horrified. The story about the ballerina was real. John spots a key on the floor near the skeleton and takes it. Suddenly, the principal's assistant walks in. John quickly improvises, saying they were looking for the ghost. The assistant warns them not to speak of this to anyone and escorts them out. John is relieved the situation passed. He heads back to his team and shows them the key he found near the skeleton. On the key, there's an inscription, "The beginning of the treasure's path." They realize there's a riddle they need to solve to find the gold. The team is amazed by John's deduction and urges him to find the treasure before the principal does. However, the principal already knows everything from her assistant. She decides to let John solve the puzzle, then she'll steal the gold from him once he's done. The next day, John returns to school and asks the chubby student to tell him more scary stories. The boy agrees and takes him to the library. There, he shares a second story, this one about an old clock. He says the clock rings by itself at night, and if anyone is nearby, they'll see a terrifying ghost. John is rattled by the tale. Suddenly, Cyan barges in, grabs him by the ear, and drags him to the library. She accuses him of stealing the chubby student's ID card and tells him to return it. John is confused and insists he's innocent. Obviously, the bully was the one who stole it, but she doesn't believe him and threatens him. At the same time, the minister's assistant discovers that the broken statue is actually a fake. The real one was never damaged. That means John was innocent and didn't mess up the mission or destroy a national treasure. But the minister decides to hide this truth from John and his team. He wants to push them to complete the gold mission. Later, John gets a call from his teammate. They identify the mysterious person from the abandoned building. It was the security guard. John decides to confront him. The guard breaks down and confesses the truth. He was feeding a hungry cat when it ran into the building. He followed it, and that's when he saw the skeleton. He panicked and tried to hide it. When John and the student showed up, he got scared and ran away, worried he'd lose his job. John believes him. The man seems harmless. He assures the guard he won't tell anyone and walks away. He returns to his team, planning to update them. But to his surprise, he finds out they've opened a restaurant next to the school just to stay close to him and coordinate without raising suspicion. Meanwhile, Cyan is heading home when she sees the bully dragging the chubby student somewhere against his will. She's suspicious and follows. She finds the bully beating him and realizes he was the one who stole the ID. She steps in and confronts him, telling him to report to her office. The bully refuses. He mocks her for being new and warns her to stay out of his way, or he'll have his father get her fired. The chubby student thanks her for stepping in and apologizes for causing problems. Then he walks away. As John heads home, he sees an old woman struggling to cross the street with several bags, blocking traffic. He decides to help her. Lena sees this and is impressed by his kindness. John walks the old lady all the way home, only to discover that she's the grandmother of the chubby student. The grandmother thanks John for helping her. She hands him $2, and the chubby student feels embarrassed by the small amount. But John doesn't want to embarrass the old woman, so he accepts the money with a smile, thanks her, and sits down with the student. He gives the student his phone number in case he ever needs anything, and tells him to call anytime. The boy is delighted and thanks him warmly. Later, Sion is heading home, but memories of what happened at school keep replaying in her head, making her feel powerless. She stops by a shop to buy some juice and grabs the last bottle on the shelf, only to find that John wants it too. They start bickering over it, but John ends up taking it. Sion gets annoyed and follows him. They sit together, and she apologizes for wrongly accusing him. She says, "I thought you were the one bullying the kid." John is happy to hear that she now knows the truth, but she notices something strange. John is picking out the vegetables from his rice. She's surprised because it reminds her of her childhood friend. She tells him, "You remind me of someone I used to know." And of course, dear viewer, from all our experience with dramas, brought to you by yours truly, Youssef Khaled, it's pretty clear that John is indeed her childhood friend, and she is his. The two were childhood companions. I'm not even surprised anymore. But what will surprise us are the upcoming events and the ending, dear viewer. So stick around and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Even if you're already subscribed, turn it on. What, you don't want to get my videos the moment they drop? I'd be sad if you didn't. Anyway, let's continue the story so you won't be mad at me. At that moment, the police come to arrest the chubby student's grandmother, accusing her of running illegal gambling. The boy cries and calls John to help. John goes with Sion to the police station. There, John insists that the bully is behind this. Sion is stunned and decides to expose the truth. After returning home, she can't stop thinking and finally posts about it in the school group. The post exposes all the bully's dirty secrets. The students finally learn the truth about him. The principal hears about the post and wants to find out who wrote it so he can punish them. He suspects Sion but has no proof. She pretends to be innocent and helpless, acting shocked and furious, saying, "I know who did this. That filthy traitor. If I catch them, I'll make them regret it." The principal believes her and is convinced she's innocent. He tries to calm her down, telling her to let it go. The truth will come out on its own, but her classmates know she's the one who wrote it. Her entire performance was obviously fake. That night, John goes to the library and stands in front of the old clock. He tries to open it, but fails. Suddenly, the school principal appears behind him. She introduces herself and asks what he's doing there. John gets nervous and says he was just curious about the clock. She laughs. He's terrible at lying. John gets anxious, fearing she might uncover his real identity. He apologizes and quickly leaves. The next day, a school assembly is held. The staff ask the chubby student whether the bully hit him. Out of fear, he lies and says the bully didn't do anything. Worse, he says John is the one who bullied him. "Wow, betrayal from your closest," people whisper. Sion is shocked by what she hears. After the meeting, she sits down with the student and asks him why he didn't tell the truth. He starts crying and remembers the night before. The bully had waited for him outside his house and threatened that if he exposed him, he would make sure his grandmother rotted in jail. Out of fear, the student was forced to accuse John. Still crying, he begs Sion to stay away from him. He doesn't want more trouble. That night, while he's walking home, he finds John waiting for him. John asks why he did that. The boy bursts into tears and tells him everything. He apologizes and says he'll accept any punishment, but John isn't mad. He tells him, "You're a victim. I'm not upset with you," and walks away. John then calls his teammate and asks them to gather information about the bully. The next day, a notice is posted at school. John will face a disciplinary hearing. Everyone is shocked. He might be expelled, but John doesn't care. He decides to clear his name. He hops on his motorcycle and heads to the hideout of a known gang that runs illegal gambling. As he walks in, he says, "I'm not here to mess around. You guys look like beasts, but I don't care." They laugh and decide to beat him up. Poor fools, they think he's just some random kid. They don't know he can become a monster. John gives them a brutal beating. He knocks one of them out in less than a second and then fights the rest of the gang. Despite being handsome, he's a beast when it comes to fighting. He knocks them down, one punch after another. The team arrives to back him up, but they find the job already done. John single-handedly beat the entire gang. He arrests the gang leader, throws him on the back of his motorcycle, and heads back to school. Meanwhile, the disciplinary hearing begins. Everyone is present, except John. Cyan gets nervous and tries to call him, but he doesn't answer. The principal is about to expel him. Suddenly, John arrives, just in time. The students are shocked to see him and impressed. He walks in and apologizes for being late. Then he reveals that he brought a witness who can expose everything the bully did. He tells the gang leader to confess, or else he'll smash his face like earlier. Terrified, the gang leader confesses everything. The bully was working with him, gambling and stealing students' ID cards to use them illegally. Everyone is shocked. The bully tries to deny it and asks the chubby student to back him up. But finally, the student gathers the courage to tell the truth. He says, "John is innocent. The bully was the one hitting me, and he even threatened to hurt my grandmother." John is thrilled and thanks him. He promises to always protect him. The bully loses control and lunges at John, but John easily takes him down. He says, "An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. You started it, now take what's coming," and breaks his nose. The bully's lawyer tries to defend him and even attempts to attack John, but Cyan stops him with a warning, "Don't even think about it." She realizes now that John is someone worth protecting. She unleashes her inner ninja and knocks the guy to the floor. After proving his innocence, Cyan treats John's wound. They sit together, locking eyes, clearly interested in each other. John thanks her and picks a flower out of her hair. Cyan gets nervous. She knows she can't be falling for a student. She quickly walks away, flustered. Later, John sits with the chubby student in a restaurant to ask him about the story of the old clock. The student explains that long ago there was a nerdy girl who always came in second place. She envied the top student, believing she was smarter, and always stole the spotlight. One day, the jealous girl pushed the top student off the roof, hoping that would make her number one. But while she was studying alone one night in the library, she heard the clock chime. She sensed someone nearby, panicked, and ran to hide in the girl's restroom. Suddenly, the ghost of the girl she killed appeared, eyes glowing red, coming to take revenge. John pretends he's not scared, but his teammates sneak up behind him, startling him so badly he almost pees himself. They all laugh. John invites the student to dinner, and the boy is thrilled and thanks him. The next day at school, John tries again to open the old clock, but still can't. Sheer walks in and hangs a photo of the student council. John helps her, but when he looks at the photo, he notices the same clock appears in the background. Curious, he asks about it. Sheer tells him the clock is located in the student council's office. John is surprised. This is the very clock he's been searching for. He tries to go see it, but the office door is locked. Lena spots him and tells him that only student council members are allowed inside. She gives him a gift and invites him to join the council in place of the expelled bully, but John refuses, saying she shouldn't waste her money. Lena is intrigued by his character and even more impressed. Later, John tells Cyan he wants to join the student council. She agrees but tells him there are two conditions. First, he has to place in the top 10 students in the school, and second, he must gather 100 student signatures supporting his entry. John is stunned. It won't be easy. He goes to his team for help. They agree to handle the signatures while he focuses on studying. The next day, John begins studying hard. Meanwhile, his team hosts a food party outside the school. They give away free food to any student who signs the petition. The students are thrilled and quickly line up. At the end of the day, the captain brings him the signed petitions and says all that's left is for him to pass and make it to the top 10. John is excited and promises to succeed. But then, Sheer asks to speak with him. They meet on the rooftop, and she surprises him. She doesn't want him to join the student council. She even threatens to expose him. It turns out she doesn't want him to find out that Lena treats her like a servant in exchange for being part of the council. That night, Lena returns home, and we discover she's the daughter of the school principal. Lena wants to go to sleep, but her mother insists she stays up and study a bit longer. She even gives her some pills to help her stay awake through the night. Lena has no choice but to obey. Meanwhile, Cyan calls John and is surprised to hear how exhausted he sounds from all the studying. She decides to visit him. John panics. His apartment is practically empty, so he calls his team and begs them to help. They realize they only have 10 minutes and immediately decide to use their authority as undercover officers. They rush to borrow anything they can from nearby neighbors: bed sheets, a mattress, a rug, even a wardrobe, whatever it takes to make the place look furnished. One teammate pretends to be John's double, while the captain drags the others into hiding. John opens the door for Cyan. She's brought him food, but he's so nervous he ends up spilling it on her clothes. She decides to clean up in the bathroom. When she comes out, she tells him to relax and starts tidying up, but then slips and falls. John quickly tries to catch her, only to land right on top of her. In the process, his lips accidentally brush hers. They both feel completely embarrassed. One of John's teammates who was hiding in the closet can't hold back a sneeze. It echoes through the room. Cyan is shocked when she sees them all and demands to know who they are. John tries to make up a story, saying they're all co-workers from the restaurant and were planning a surprise, but she doesn't buy it. Why were they hiding in the closet? Desperate to escape the awkwardness, John fakes a fainting spell and collapses to the floor. His captain rushes in, picks him up dramatically, and leaves, blaming Cyan for what happened. She's left completely confused and has no idea what just occurred. The next day is exam day. John tries his best to stay focused and finishes all the questions. Cyan collects the papers, but she's still suspicious of him. That night, she drinks again to try and forget everything that happened. She gets tipsy and, by mistake, goes to John's place, thinking it's hers since they live across from each other. She keeps calling his name until her mother comes out and takes her inside. John watches and quietly laughs. The following day, John goes to school nervous about the results. He picks up his test paper and is shocked to see that he ranked 10th in the entire school. He's thrilled. This means he can now officially join the student council. He calls his team to tell them the good news, and they all celebrate, especially since Shai, his captain's daughter, ranked first, which makes the celebration even bigger. But Lena is upset. She came in second. She isolates herself in the library, afraid of what her mother might say. John finds her and tells her the result. He asks her to accept him as part of the student council, but he notices she's not herself and asks if she's okay. She refuses to say anything. Suddenly, she receives a message from her mother and immediately leaves for her office. We discover that her mother is planning to punish her. That night, John sits with his team and they ask if he can get close to Lena to earn her trust and stay close to the student council. But John says, "Come on guys, I'm a handsome guy. With one wink, I've charmed 55 girls already." He promises he'll handle it. The next day, he approaches Lena while she's eating. He tries to talk to her and offers her a glass of water, just in case she chokes. She refuses to take it, so he drinks it himself to break the tension. Everyone laughs at him. Despite that, Lena eventually agrees to let him take the bully's old spot in the council. John is happy and attends his first meeting with them. Cyan introduces him to the other members. After the meeting, when everyone leaves, John seizes the moment and tries to open the mysterious clock again, but Lena walks in. He quickly pretends he was just looking out the window. She invites him to dinner. He agrees, figuring it's a good chance to gain her trust. Cyan gets nervous and tries to get out of the dinner, but Lena insists she must come and even gives her money to buy a dress. That night, the three of them go to a fancy restaurant. Lena treats Cyan poorly, acting like she's a servant to make herself look superior in front of John. She even makes her go out and buy her new shoes. John is shocked. He finally understands the secret Cyan has been hiding. He gets angry and stands up for her. After dinner, he speaks to Cyan and urges her to stop letting Lena control her. But Cyan lashes out. She tells him not to interfere in her life, that serving Lena is her choice. She walks away. Later that night, Lena returns home. Her mother is waiting for her. We find out that her mother is the one forcing her to treat Cyan this way. She even told her to bring John into the student council so they could spy on him and find out the location of the gold. That night, John sneaks back into the school and tries to open the clock again, but still finds nothing. Suddenly, someone slips a note under the door and runs away. John is confused and opens the note. It reads, "I know you're a cop." He's stunned. His cover has been blown. The next day he tells his captain. They start thinking together. Who could have found out? While John is home pondering, they get a message from the school security guard. He's the one who knows the truth and wants to meet John urgently. John agrees and heads to meet him. We see the guard waiting on the rooftop. Suddenly, a masked figure appears and attacks, trying to take the notebook the guard is holding. The guard fights back, but he's overpowered and killed instantly. John arrives moments too late. He finds the guard's body and realizes he's gone. Then he sees the notebook and is shocked. It's his father's diary, the same father who went missing 20 years ago. Yes, dear viewer, the father John has been searching for has finally returned, in the form of a diary. John spots the masked man fleeing and gives chase. The man tries to ambush him from behind, but John fights him off with incredible skill. He knocks him down and is about to remove his mask, but the man pushes him away and escapes in a waiting car. We find out the masked man is the principal's assistant. She had ordered him to eliminate the guard, but he apologizes for failing to retrieve the notebook. John storms into the minister's office and punches his bodyguard. He locks the door. This is serious. He confronts the minister, slams the diary down, and demands the truth. He threatens to expose everything. The minister panics and reveals the truth. John's father had the same mission. He was searching for the gold, but disappeared. John is furious. He can't believe this was all kept from him. He nearly attacks the minister, but his captain rushes in and holds him back. They step outside to talk. John, overwhelmed, says he wants to withdraw from the mission. At home, he begins reading the diary. It contains extensive information about the school, secrets that could lead to the treasure. Meanwhile, Cyan visits his place. She's surprised he isn't home and assumes he's still recovering. At the same time, one of John's teammates disguises himself as a student and tries to infiltrate the school, but the others stop him. He looks too old. No one will believe he's a student. They feel hopeless. Suddenly, John walks in. He tells them he's back on the mission. He wants to find the gold and learn what happened to his father. His teammates are shocked but quickly rally behind him. He returns to the school. The students are happy to see him, but Cyan deducts 20 points from his record because of his absences. After class, John heads to the student council room and goes straight to the clock. Using his father's diary, he reads the instructions and follows them step by step. He finally succeeds. The clock opens, and a musical melody starts to play. John records the tune. Suddenly, Cyan enters. She tells him she saw him fighting the masked figure last night and now knows he's not a student. She threatens to report him. John panics. If she tells, the whole mission will fall apart. He quickly locks the door and tells her the truth. He reveals he's a cop on a secret mission, searching for a hidden treasure. Cyan is shocked. John uses the moment to scare her a little. He warns her, "If you tell anyone, you'll go to jail for 100 years. Cyan is terrified and foolishly believes him. She promises not to tell and even offers to help him with the mission. That night, John returns to his team and plays them the melody. He tells them the next clue is related to a piano and also recounts what happened with Cyan. His captain gets furious. He shouldn't have threatened her. He orders John to apologize. John agrees. He waits for her at her mother's restaurant and tells her he was only joking. He promises that if she helps him, she'll be honored and rewarded. Cyan imagines herself as a local hero, respected by all. She agrees and says, "What do you want from me, sir? I'm your humble servant. If you ask for moonlight, I'll hand you the stars." John is thrilled. The next day, he heads to the school's music room and rereads his father's diary. He learns that a long time ago, there was a gifted piano student who got tricked by her teacher. When he found out she was pregnant, he abandoned her. Devastated, she took her own life. Later, while the teacher was playing piano alone, the instrument began playing by itself. The ghost of the girl appeared, her eyes glowing red. Since then, the piano has been cursed, and no one dares to go near it. As John finishes reading, Cyan appears behind him and asks where the piano is. He tells her it's in the principal's office, and only she can access it. But Cyan informs him that a big school event is coming up. Everyone will be distracted, making it the perfect opportunity to sneak in. John is excited. He tells the student council he wants to attend the event, but Lena refuses. He's still missing 20 points. John is stunned and feels discouraged. That night, he meets with his team to brainstorm a solution. Suddenly, Cyan walks in on John and his team and tells them there's a way he can earn back his lost points by filming a promotional video for the school. At first, John refuses. The idea is embarrassing to him. "There's no way I can do that. My charisma would be ruined. What if my future wife sees me like this?" But the next day, he goes to school with Cyan and reluctantly agrees, not wanting to jeopardize the mission. She starts teaching him some cute poses and gestures to do during the shoot. He refuses at first and mocks how silly she looks. But when she reminds him of the mission, he caves in. John gives in and starts copying every pose she teaches him. During the shoot, he poses like a professional model, and everyone is stunned by how good he looks. The girls can't stop staring at him. That night, John decides to treat Cyan to dinner to thank her for helping him. As they spend time together, he starts thinking about his childhood friend again. Suddenly, it begins to rain. Sion's mother calls her to bring an umbrella, and as she calls out her name, John freezes. It's the same name as his childhood friend. He realizes it's really her. He watches her in disbelief, smiling with joy. "I finally found you." But when he tries to talk to her, she makes fun of his name, not recognizing him. Hurt, she walks away. Later that night, John returns home and looks through an old photo album filled with memories. He remembers their moments together, and we learn she was his first love. John is happy that fate brought them back together after all these years. The next day at school, he sees her dancing while cleaning an office. He stares at her silently, amused and nostalgic. She notices and feels embarrassed. She hurries off to attend a staff meeting. The principal walks in and asks the teachers to help him choose the prettiest girl in the school for a campaign. Naturally, they all choose Lena, since she's the principal's daughter. But when it's the students' turn, Sion wants to nominate John and suggests they hold a vote. They agree, but Sion is nervous. If this backfires, the mission could fail. Luckily, John wins the vote. He's thrilled when he finds out and celebrates with his team. He even invites them out to lunch. He sees Shar carrying a huge pile of books and feels bad. He sees her like a sister. He helps her out. They sit and talk. He apologizes for interfering in her life earlier. She smiles and forgives him. She says, "Lena isn't a bad person, but her life is hard because of her mom. I'm the only one who can handle her." That night, John sits with his team to discuss the ghost piano. They realize someone will need to play it. Everyone is too scared. Suddenly, Sion volunteers. Everyone is surprised by her courage. John tries to stop her, afraid she'll get hurt, but she insists. He asks why. She tells him about a student she once taught and promised she'd become a successful teacher. Now it's time to fulfill that promise. John is touched by her words and reluctantly agrees. The next day, they learn that the piano room requires the principal's or her assistant's fingerprint to open. So Sion approaches the assistant in the library. While he's distracted, she secretly takes the book he's holding. She brings it to John, who extracts his fingerprint. Then he starts training her in self-defense in case anything goes wrong. But when she gets too close during practice, John gets nervous and embarrassed. "Okay, that's enough," he says, and walks away. That night, they meet with the team. The following day, John waits for Sion at school. When she arrives, he's stunned. She's wearing a beautiful dress. He can't take his eyes off her. The school principal arrives to welcome the guests for the big event. It's the perfect time. John and Sion prepare to execute their plan. Before they separate, John gives her a necklace that contains a tracking device. "Just in case," he says. Sion smiles, touched that he cares for her. She thanks him and starts to sense he has feelings for her. Suddenly, the lights go out. They seize the moment and head to the principal's office. They try to open the door using the assistant's fingerprint, but it jams. As the power comes back on, the guards arrive. John jumps into action. He fights them while shielding Sion, almost dancing with her through the chaos. "Anyone who touches the lady signs their death warrant," he yells. One guard goes down with a hard blow. Sion is amazed by his strength. She uses the self-defense moves John taught her and helps him fight. They finally manage to get inside the office and reach the piano. They start playing it, but nothing happens. One of the keys is broken. John opens the principal's computer and finds a file with all of his information. He's shocked. She knew about him all along. That means there's a traitor in the team. Stunned, he quickly exits before anyone else arrives. After the event, he meets with his team and tells them about the broken piano key, but doesn't mention the file. He doesn't know who the mole is yet. At home, John starts connecting the dots. He decides to find the traitor himself. Meanwhile, Sion investigates the broken piano key and wonders why it produces no sound. She studies the words sung during past performances, hoping they form a sentence that leads to the treasure. Excited by what she finds, she rushes to tell John. She finds him at the supermarket, but he seems distant and cold. Confused, she invites him to her mom's restaurant. There, John tells her the truth. There's a traitor in the team. He suspects everyone. Sion feels bad for him. She comforts him and promises to stand by his side. John smiles, touched by her words. As they walk home together, he decides it's time to tell her the truth. "Back then, I was the boy who liked you, the one who always protected you, your childhood friend." Sion is shocked. He had changed his name. That's why she didn't recognize him. She's happy they've reunited, but feels awkward. He was her childhood crush. Embarrassed, she walks away into her apartment. The next day at school, she finds one of the student council members' cards. On it is a link. She clicks on it and is shocked. It leads to end-of-year exam results, even though exams haven't happened yet. Sion immediately calls John. When he arrives, she tells him about the fake scores and asks for his help. He apologizes, his mission is to find the treasure, and walks out. But then he sees her studying hard. She wants to be first in the school. Everything she's doing is based on effort, but her future is in danger because of forged grades. Meanwhile, the school principal finds out that one of the rich students lost their result card. She storms into the boy's bathroom, cornering him, and beats him until his face is unrecognizable. He looks like a zombie. John later sees Sion late at night, still studying at school, trying to gather evidence against the principal. He's impressed by her determination and decides to help her. He starts reviewing old records to prove the results were tampered with. They stay up all night. Eventually, Sion falls asleep. John covers her with his jacket and continues working alone. Later, he dozes off from exhaustion. When she wakes up and sees him asleep, she's touched. She gently covers him and gazes at him with affection. Her eyes practically turn into hearts. It's clear, she likes him again. The next day, John asks his team for help, but his captain refuses. Focus on the mission. We need to find the treasure ASAP, or the entire team will be punished. John is frustrated but refuses to give up. He decides to handle the cheating case himself. That night, the principal returns home to find Lena waiting. She asks why she's faking grades. Her mother responds, "You're my daughter. You must be first no matter what, and you must cut ties with that girl. She's beneath us." Lena is furious. She says Shai is her best friend and she won't abandon her. She storms out and goes to Shi's place, asking to stay over. She is surprised but agrees. They eat together. Shai's mom is delighted to see her daughter's close friend for the first time. Lena is touched. She's never felt this kind of maternal warmth. For once, she feels like she has a family. Meanwhile, Sion finally finds evidence against the principal. She's thrilled and rushes to tell John, but when she reaches his place, the door is open. She steps inside and finds a masked intruder. She asks, "Who are you?" She tries to call the police, but the man punches her in the stomach and runs. John returns moments later and finds her unconscious. He rushes to her and sees she's still breathing. He carries her to the hospital to save her life. He feels immense guilt, terrified he might lose her. Thankfully, the injury isn't severe and the doctors manage to stabilize her. Her mother arrives and tells John to leave. She wants to stay with her daughter alone. John respects her wishes and leaves. He meets with his team and assures them she's okay. His captain notices something is off and tries to talk to him, but John snaps at him. He's starting to believe his captain might be the traitor. He nearly punches him but holds back and walks away. John goes to sit by Sion's side, watching over her. When she wakes up, she smiles, happy he's there. He apologizes for putting her in danger. She reassures him, "I'm strong. I won't die that easily." Suddenly, one of his teammates calls. They've identified the fingerprints from the intruder. It's a teacher at the school. John is stunned. That means the principal sent him. He rushes home to check his father's diary, but it's gone, stolen. We then see the principal reading the diary herself, searching for the treasure's location. Just then, Lena walks in and begs her not to fake the grades again this year. "I promise I'll study and come in first." She walks away, but her mother has no intention of listening. She instructs her assistant to go ahead with the plan. Later, the assistant meets with the teacher who stole the diary. He takes him into a car and kidnaps him. The teacher loses consciousness. The assistant orders his men to kill him, to eliminate any evidence that could harm the principal. But John's team had been tracking them. They try to rescue him, but fall into a trap. It turns out the enemies were all decoys. The real gang captures John's team. The tables have turned. They beg for mercy. "We're just kids. We won't do it again. Please let us go." As they cried out for help, believing the end had finally come, our hero arrived just in time. His sudden appearance stunned everyone, including the gang members, who had no idea who they were messing with. Like a beast unleashed, John fought them all off on his own, breaking their bones and faces with brutal precision. He defeated the entire gang, leaving only the massive and powerful deputy. John charged at him, but the man was strong, and a fierce battle broke out, like a fight between a bar of soap and a loofah. Forced to rely on his secret combat skills, John struck with full power, delivering a solid smack to the back of the thug's head. He snatched the car keys, stopped the vehicle just before it reached the grinder, and saved everyone's lives. Afterward, he rushed the injured teacher to the hospital so he could testify about what he did to Cyan. The next day, John confronted the principal with everything he knew. He told her the teacher had confessed. Soon, the police arrived and arrested her. The truth was finally out. She had been falsifying exam scores. The news spread across the school like wildfire. Cyan was relieved that justice had been served and thanked John for helping her expose the truth. John also confirmed that his boss wasn't the mole after all. That night, he met with his boss and apologized for ever doubting him. He promised to continue the mission, to find the gold and uncover what happened to his father. His boss smiled proudly and encouraged him. The next day, Lena overheard some students gossiping, saying she had only been ranked first because of her mother. Deeply hurt, she sat alone in tears. Cyan found her and comforted her, urging her to prove her worth by earning the top spot with her own efforts. Lena, inspired, agreed. Back in class, the students joined forces to clean the school, turning it into a better place. Cyan and John were thrilled to see everyone united, and they all took a happy group photo. But their joy was short-lived. Suddenly, the former principal returned, shocking everyone. She approached John with a twisted smile and told him he was no longer welcome at the school. She announced his expulsion. Devastated, John packed up his things. The students were heartbroken and wanted to stand up for him, but he refused. He didn't want to ruin their futures. He thanked them and left. He returned to his team and informed them of what happened. They suspected the minister had pulled strings to release the principal. That's when it hit them. He might be the mole. They decided to continue the mission in secret. But before long, investigators stormed their headquarters. They found stacks of cash and accused John's boss of taking bribes. He was arrested. John was furious and wanted to fight back, but his boss stopped him to protect him. Then the principal called John, laughed, and warned him that if he came any closer, she'd imprison his team and expel Cyan. Confused and angry, John sat alone. Cyan found him, sensed his sadness, and gave him a pep talk. She swore to stay by his side no matter what. Her words reignited his determination. The next day, Shia called him with alarming news. The principal had started her new ranking system, dividing students based on their grades. John knew time was running out. He had to find the gold before it was too late. He gathered his team and reviewed all the evidence. He began to suspect the treasure might be buried beneath the old statue of the former principal. To confirm, John disguised himself as a delivery guy and snuck into the school. Cyan saw him and realized the danger he was putting himself in. Pretending to be sick, she joined him. Together, they approached the statue and tried moving it, only to find it actually shifted. Excited, they realized they might have found the hidden treasure. But just then, the headmaster arrived and demanded John remove his helmet. Nervous, John hesitated, but Cyan covered the headmaster's eyes, allowing John to escape. The principal found out and was furious. She retaliated the next day by leaking a photo of Cyan and John to the student body, framing them as a scandalous couple. Everyone started mocking Cyan, claiming she was dating a much younger student. The deputy head tried to expel her, but John intervened just in time. He knew he had to reveal the truth. Fearing he might say he was a cop, Cyan panicked, but John simply showed the students a fake ID, pretending to be an older man who returned to school for his education. He faked an emotional story about being poor and wanting to better himself. The students believed him, forgave him, and even cheered him on. They encouraged him to continue his studies and stay with Cyan, but just then, the wicked principal showed up and ruined the moment. John was forced to leave. Cyan walked him out, proud that he had defended her. That night, John gathered his team and told them he was sure the gold, or at least something important, was under the statue. They planned a night raid. John successfully moved the statue and discovered a secret underground chamber. Convinced this was where his father had disappeared, he descended. But instead of treasure, he found a skeleton. His heart sank. It was wearing his father's clothes. John collapsed in grief. He had finally found his father, but only as bones. Meanwhile, the principal and her guards arrived. John's team tried to stall her, but they were outnumbered. She reached the chamber and was horrified to find no gold. Her dreams shattered. She broke down in tears. The next day, John held a funeral for his father. His heart was broken. He had clung to hope that his father was still alive, but that hope died with him. Sion sat beside him, comforting him in silence. His team, equally defeated, didn't know how to lift his spirits. But then, all the students arrived. John was moved to tears. He realized he wasn't alone. He thanked them and decided to finish the mission for his father. He met with his boss, who had found a bullet near the skeleton. They suspected the minister was responsible. The two vowed to work together to bring him down, but before they could act, the minister fired John from his job. Determined, John grabbed his gun the next day and set out for revenge. Sion saw him leave and sensed something was wrong. She warned the team, and they rushed after him. John arrived at the minister's hotel, waited for the right moment, and entered the room. He pointed the gun at him and demanded the truth. Terrified, the minister tried to escape, but John cornered him. Just as he was about to confess, his guards burst in and arrested John, but they didn't know who they were dealing with. John's team showed up, furious, and took out the guards one by one. Only one was left. Sion arrived just in time. Using the combat skills John had taught her, she took him down with a perfect move. She grabbed a fire extinguisher, sprayed the remaining guards, and rescued John. They tried to escape, but hotel security blocked them. Thankfully, the team arrived and held them off. Sion feared for them. They were chefs, not fighters. But John reminded her, alone they were weak. Together, they were unstoppable. And they proved it. Though clumsy, they fought like maniacs, crushing the guards and breaking noses like pros. Back at their base, John confessed. He hadn't come to kill the minister. He'd planted a tracker in his phone to monitor his movements. That night, the minister met with the principal. He warned her that John and his team were suspicious. They fought, and the minister threatened to expose her. Then came a flashback. Years ago, they had captured John's father to learn the treasure's location. When he refused to talk, he tried to escape. The principal grabbed the minister's gun and shot him herself. Unbeknownst to them, John had heard everything. John is shocked to discover that the principal was behind everything. He immediately calls the minister and tells him he knows the whole truth. John begs him to testify against her, and they agree to meet. But when John arrives at the meeting spot, he finds the minister already dead. Out of nowhere, someone strikes John from behind. He collapses to the ground, unconscious. The next day, John wakes up, his head pounding, and finds himself holding the murder weapon. That's it. He's been framed. Police arrive on the scene and arrest him for the murder of the minister. They take him into custody for interrogation. John is in complete disbelief. He knows exactly who did this, none other than the school principal. She even visits him in detention. With a wicked smile, she says, "So, turns out you're a criminal after all. Just tell me where the gold is, and I'll make sure the charges vanish." She threatens him. If he refuses to talk, she'll make Sion disappear. She gives him time to think and walks away. But John, enraged, refuses to be blackmailed. That night, during his transfer in a police vehicle with handcuffs on his wrists, he pulls off an impossible escape. Like a possessed beast, he overpowers the detectives, snatches a weapon, and forces the driver off the road, causing a huge crash. But John, like a cat with 9 lives, emerges from the wreckage, battered but alive. He breaks the cuffs and escapes. Seriously wounded, he calls Sion and pleads for her help. Then he blacks out. Sion panics, locates his position, hails a taxi, and rushes to his side. She arrives just in time, cradles him in her arms, and takes him home. All night long, she nurses his wounds, staying by his side until he finally regains consciousness. He thanks her and tells her that without her, he would have never survived. He reveals the truth. The principal is the one who killed his father. He begs Sion to leave the school, fearing she's in danger. But Sion refuses. She insists on staying to protect the students. Suddenly, John's team shows up, disguised, because the police are tracking them. Unfortunately, their disguises are a joke, and the police find their hideout anyway. John grabs Sion and escapes through the window, holding her tight. He crashes into a stack of mattresses, conveniently placed, thank the director. As for the teammate who jumps after them, he lands hard. John tells Sion, "I'll distract them. You run." He hugs her and takes off like a ninja, putting on a weird accessory to throw off the cops. It works. He draws their attention and flees, though his injuries are taking a toll. Despite the pain, he pushes through and rushes to the police station with a recording, evidence of the minister's conversation with the principal. It proves his innocence. John is cleared of all charges and reinstated. At the same time, the principal expels Sion from school, claiming she assisted John. But the students won't let that slide. They rise in protest, demanding the principal resign instead. The news spreads like wildfire. Enraged, the principal snaps. Laughing maniacally, she reveals her true twisted self. She cuts the power, pours gasoline everywhere, and strikes a match. She plans to burn the entire school down. The students scream in terror, but John bursts in just in time. He tries to stop her. She forces him to drop his weapon, then grabs it. Laughing like a maniac, she threatens to end everyone's life right there. Just then, her daughter Lyon arrives. Crying, she begs her mother to stop. The principal freezes. She didn't expect her daughter to witness this madness. Heartbroken, Lyon pleads, "Don't do this, Mom." Crushed by guilt, the principal raises the gun, ready to end it all. But John lunges forward and catches the lighter before it falls. Everyone cheers. He just saved them all. His team arrives and finally arrests the principal. Justice is served. For all her crimes, driven by greed for gold and power, she lost everything: her career, her freedom, and her daughter's love. John breathes a sigh of relief. The mission is over. But suddenly he collapses. Everyone rushes him to the hospital, staying by his side until he opens his eyes. John wakes up. He's alive. Later, he attends the principal's trial. Her assistant testifies against her, and she is sentenced to life in prison. Her daughter visits her in jail. Through tears, she promises to start a new chapter, work hard, and make her mother proud. She tells her she still loves her and will keep visiting. The principal, overwhelmed with emotion, breaks down in sobs. She finally realizes what she lost. The next day, John returns to the school to say goodbye. But to his surprise, all the students are waiting for him at the windows, throwing down gifts, cheering, and thanking him for everything. John smiles, deeply moved. He waves farewell and heads home. There, he stumbles across a hidden compartment left by his father. Inside it is the gold, the treasure they'd been searching for all along. Shocked, John calls his boss. "I found it," he says. "Mission complete." The gold is turned over to the authorities. We learn that Sion has now become the school's principal. She celebrates with her first class. A month later, she graduates and applies to join the police force, determined to work alongside John. As for Leon, she follows her passion and gets into art school, pursuing her dream of becoming a painter. Finally, John takes Sion to a mountaintop to watch the stars. He gives her a ring, confesses his love, and proposes. Sion says yes. He hugs her tightly, and at last he gives her the raisin. Yes, the famous romantic raisin. And every other sweet thing she deserves. They promise to spend their lives together. And so, we close our drama with happy ending. May your life be just as joyful. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Until we meet again, peace out.